Freedom has many difficulties, but we have never had to put a wall up to keep our people in.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Leo Zagami Show. Today, it's a little bit of an unusual setup because I'm on my own without my beloved wife, who is taking a break, so I can conduct a series of exclusive interviews, starting with a very dear friend of mine who had one of the most crazy experiences you could ever have in the United States of America. Somebody who I used to work with because he was the owner of Global Enlightenment Network, a radio station I actually started to broadcast on with the Leo Zagami Show in the very early days I got here in the United States of America. Then something happened. He participated, unfortunately, to January 6th. He's now known as a January 6th. In reality, he was actually there for the alternative media. But in the January 6th kind of scenario, he wasn't recognized as a journalist. And so he ended up in a lot of trouble. I interviewed him before he got arrested for my Italian show, thinking there might be other opportunities to interview him in the English language. But Darrell Neely is probably, if not the only one of the only Afro-Americans present that day in the Capitol Hill. So today's interview is gonna analyze somebody who was also not only one of the first ones to end up being investigated and condemned, but also the only one who can say he was arrested 2 times for a crime which is not a crime. Today in the United States of America, we have a different president. But during the Joe Biden presidency, I had 17 channels removed from YouTube. We all together saw what it means to be under a tyranny, a dictatorship. And those were the early days of the tyranny. My friend Darrell Neely was a representative of the alternative media, but the FBI never recognized them as such, simply because it didn't have maybe a nice, press pass stating, he's a member of the press. In reality, he's not the only one who ended up in that gulag in Washington, D.C. And today, we're going to have from him all the details of what went on. It's going to be an extraordinary journey into the life of somebody who I have also the honor of calling a friend. So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my audience, first of all, I want to thank somebody who is giving us the possibility to go on the air today, because, we are financed by you, who are the viewers. And we have, of course, a Saturday show sponsored by Dr. Faro. Today's show is sponsored by Daniel Estes, who I want to personally thank for giving us this possibility. And of course, I've also put a link connected directly to Darrell Neely if you want to help him rebuilding his life, because he announced me just while I was going on the air that he's actually going to restart his Global Enlightenment Network. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome all Darrell Neely. How, Darrell? Hi.
What up, my brother? How are you doing?
Well, it's a great pleasure to have you on board today, and it's emotional because the last time we talked, it was like I almost had the feeling that you were not taking it too seriously, because in reality, the alleged crimes that you committed were pretty ridiculous.
That's the word you're going to use? I would have said it was a sham. See, the United States government loves to put people in prison. That's what they do for a living. That's what they do for a fact in life. So once we have the United States government in hand, like we have it right now, then we can do more with it. And I don't understand how people in today's world can stand a big and powerful government, too large, too big, too enormous. We need to make it smaller, because that's the key to surviving in this country. The states are the ones that make the rules for what the people in the state do. The United States government says overshadowed, but we're going too far ahead.
Yes. Let's start. Let's make the people understand your whole journey here, because otherwise we might miss a few important steps for the complete understanding of your case. Now, I met Darrell as a colleague who invited me to be part of his digital radio network, which was rather successful back in those days. Especially in the early days of the pandemic, you had a lot of people who were broadcasting through your platform. You were always there, very dedicated to your job. I remember sharing all my work I was doing with Dr. Paul Cottrell, and it was kind of like you were just part of this alternative media world. Then,
correct.
Then I want to show something here on the screen. This is, of course, regarding your case, with the document number, files, everything. On January 9, they say, and I'm quoting, your case file, filed on, I think, the 30th of September 2021, the FBI received a tip that Darrell Neely entered the U.S. Capitol building on January 6, 2021. Now, let's go back to that. Who gave them that tip?
That information actually came about by an I can't say it. See, I have a little gag on me still.
Okay,
an ex at that time.
Okay.
And that person, along with others, her cronies, decided to send an email to the FBI to rat me out, thinking they can get some money. Remember, they were having an enormous amount of what's the word I want to use? Bounties bounties. Yeah, let's use that word. Bounties, people, for January 6th. And now look at what we're doing. Look who we are. I mean, we struggle, and the struggle is something intentional.
Okay, here it says, sorry if I interrupt you, Neely, that the screenshot of the open source video footage are included. So let's just go in. Darrell, I know that we are friends, and of course we're gonna be chatting and discussing this for years to come. But today I want to really make people understand how insidious this whole thing was. And please reopen your microphone. That's great. So we can go through the whole case. So somebody ratted you out, and you are saying it was probably because they will get some money.
Well, you remember they were giving a large bounty out. They were giving for the head of the Oath Keepers, Stewart. They had a $25,000 bounty. Some people had 70, 80,000. I mean, it was ridiculous. You remember they had that on the screen on TV. And how can they do that for people that were just doing what we were supposed to do? We called out a fraud, a fake election. We want to stop the steal. How can we, as an American public, stand still and allow things such as this to happen?
Okay, you know that, for example, since Trump came into office, we no longer have problems in saying this. But up until Trump was in office, or was elected, actually, because things started to change soon after his election, we couldn't even mention the fact that these elections were stealed, because our channels would be automatically suspended. Things have changed now, so we are in a new era. Here I read, of course, we are seeing an image that ended up also on a few newspapers, allegedly saying that you even smoked a joint in the office of Nancy Pelosi. There is also an image here of you at the entrance, and there is also an image with a woman dressed in pink, who apparently you say conducted you in the building. Tell me a little bit more. Did you ever find out who that woman was?
Her name was Geller, and she is called the Pink Beret Girl. And yes, she did escort me into the building. She said it'd be nice to go in, and we even helped a veteran climb up the stairs because he couldn't move fast and couldn't move swiftly enough. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to see what was really going on. I want to see what the media was hiding. You know what I mean? I wanted to see the truth. And the truth was there was no fighting inside there. Well, there was a little, but not really fighting like outside. There was only the Capitol Police inside. And at that time, the January 6th were simply going in there to voice their concern.
Now, I'm showing, sorry to interrupt you there, but I'm showing here an article from NBC News. This article is dated October 19th, 2021. And it says, man charged in January 6 riot stole Capitol officer's hat, wore it on his YouTube channel, officials say. What was it with this hat?
Listen, the hat flew off, was flown in the crowd. And to be honest, it's nothing to do with anything. They even said that I was not guilty of stealing a hat. But you know the system. You might be not guilty of one thing, but they're gonna make you guilty of another.
Okay.
And just to let you know that the way the system was set up, we were bound to lose. Every one of us. But I got lucky. I beat all my felonies.
Okay, here, one thing that always shocked me, Darrell, when I read it back in the days when it happened. The complaint says the FBI evidence includes witness statements from 3 colleagues who worked with me at an online radio station, Global Enlightenment Radio Network. Who was the asshole who basically witnessed against you something that wasn't even happening, because you went there really to participate in a way that you could actually testimony what was going on behalf of a radio station, maybe a small radio, but there was still a radio. It says the colleagues who were identified only as witness in the complaint told the FBI that they spoke with Neely or did they chickened out these people? What kind of people were these people? Because I mean, if the FBI came here and says Darrell or Neely, I would tell them fuck off.
Yeah, that's why we do it. But you know, I'm gonna say it off air. I could tell you the name of one individual. The other two, one was Rob Yachts, and the other one,
have to, you know, we don't necessarily have to say their names, Darrell, but we
I can use the name because that nobody else has a gag on me. But the other one, I can just say, how can I say it? It's an it's.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now at this point, you were identified in September. The article that we just saw was published in October. And I think that was more or less the last period in which we had any form of communications, me and you, when you were actually arrested.
The first arrest happened, I think 6-7 months later, officially. And then the next one.
So when they were bringing out these articles, you were already under arrest?
Actually, I was being watched.
Okay. So when is it that they actually arrested you?
I think it was cold that day, that time. So it had to be around October, November.
Okay. In fact, it seems like it goes along with all these articles. There is an article here by Courthouse News Service. It says Darrell Neely, a YouTuber and rare Washington January 6 defendant, argued a federal judge was wrong to deny his request to transfer his case out of DC, a move that several writers have unsuccessfully made, including Donald J. Trump. Why did you want this case out of DC?
DC is biased. It's politically racist. It's socially racist. I mean, I'm the man with the permanent tan, and the black people didn't like Trump, and anybody that liked Trump was against the system, even though Trump did so much for the people.
I completely understand. So you were actually targeted even more than the white folks who were there because you were black. That's what you're saying, basically.
Correct. And especially in DC, I was a moving target. As the judge said, I was the spear, the tip of the spear. That's the word, tip of the spear. Think about that, Leo.
It says here in another article, this article is from September 2023. So a couple of years later, they came around with this article. Let me show you, because it's kind of weird. Okay, it says here, Darrell Neely is the first misdemeanor defendant to receive more than a year in prison in a Capitol riot case. So that makes you already a unique individual. On top of that, they said that you were sentenced to 28 months in prison for stealing plates. Aside from that, the police hat, which became a jacket, which became I don't know what, because here things are piling up, and I would like to understand more with you, Darrell.
I don't know anything about those plates. I don't know anything about plates. What plates? Dinner plates? What plates?
Yes, it says here a federal judge sentenced one of only a handful of DC residents charged in connection with the Capitol riot to 28 months in prison Tuesday, marking the first time a misdemeanor January 6 defendant had received more than a year behind bars. Darrell Neely was convicted in a bench trial in May of 5 misdemeanors accounts. Prosecutors say the radio and YouTube broadcaster had spent more than an hour inside the U.S. Capitol on January 6 and stole 4 China plates. as well as multiple items belonging to the Capitol police officer, including a jacket bearing his badge. Is this a lie, a complete lie, a fabrication?
It is a complete lie. That article is a lie. Please save it. I would love to sue that company.
So by that point, though, Darrell, you spent how many months in prison the first time?
The 28 months I served was hard time. It was started off.
So you actually, sorry to interrupt, you spent 28 months after the arrest inside?
Not including the time that was spent for we gotta hurry up. That not including the time that was spent for being in the gulag, being in
okay, because you were rearrested in November of last year, yeah?
Sorry. I got mama talking.
Don't worry. I completely understand, Darrell. I completely understand. It's not easy. Please send my regards to your. Please send my regards to your mother.
Yes. But see, the whole situation is this: the whole time that we were in the gulag, I was also before that in Virginia at what was that jail? It was a piece of crap. I'm not gonna lie to you. Can't remember the name because I really don't want to remember these places.
Okay, Darrell, first of all, you were regarded as a fugitive. Once they got you, they brought you to a prison. So the first prison, you don't seem to remember the name of this prison. We don't care about that. At one point, though, you were moved to the gulag, the infamous gulag in Washington. Yes. Please put back the microphone, Darrell. Darrell, the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. So, can you please describe what happened from the moment you were transferred into the gulag and give us a testimony of what you saw in the infamous gulag in Washington, D.C.?
Well, you know, D.C. is not a nice jail system. The boys that were not of my color were brutally beaten. A lot of them were just, it was horrible. I mean, those guys honestly believe that we ran into the White House.
Okay, here you talk, okay, let's rewind a second. So our viewers, in the meantime, I want to say welcome to all the viewers who are tuned in. Leo Zagami today, this is the Leo Zagami show. We are doing an exclusive interview with the J6ER, Darrell Neely, who is also an old friend of mine. I would like also to briefly show on the screen your Gifts and Go in case somebody wants to help you out. We know that you have had some real problems. In fact, you were not able to leave the city after you were released, and you ended up as a homeless individual. That is also something which we will discuss in a while. Welcome everybody to the Leo Zagami show. This is an incredible story of injustice, and it's also the story of somebody who should have never gone through what you have gone through. So, Darrell, let's rewind from the moment the FBI arrested you. They arrested you because they said you were a fugitive. You missed your court dates. What happened?
I actually called into the judge, and my attorney was there, and they actually just sat there, and the judge listened to the prosecution. They listened to the DA's office. Merrick hated me. I mean, that was a direct statement. Merrick hated me because Merrick's the one that said I was the tip of the spear. Then the judge repeated it. They wanted to say that I wasn't a journalist because I don't possess the journalist credentials of being a part of the Senate press corps. That's corporate America. No independents are there. On the other side, there are many issues. I mean, they literally did not want me to have a voice. So what did they do? They arrested me. They detained me. Just like
And
the last time. I was one.
okay, you are talking about the first detention or the second detention? Because, like I said, there was also second detention. Okay, the first detention happened in the fall of 2021.
Right. The
And
second
from that moment onwards, you were first of all in a federal prison outside of DC.
Yes, in Lewisburg.
Okay, in Lewisburg. And then after how many months they sent you to the infamous Gulag in Washington, D.C., where all the J6ERs are?
That would be 9 months.
Okay, and at that point, you were received by the J6ERs, who you say were people who, of course, were believing in their own view of things. Did you clash with their view of how things went that day?
But that was a total clash because that was actually DC Riot Patrol and Capitol Police that were attacking us. I mean, let's just be honest. If you're shooting bang grenades over the crowd's going to split like the Great Divide, and one set of the crowd is going to move forward, the other one's going to move back. Then those that move forward, you're going to beat them with blackjacks and billy clubs and shields and fists. And then you're going to spray them with this toxic spray. It's not OC spray. It's a toxic spray that it's almost like bear spray. I mean,
Okay, I had, aside from you, I had a friend of mine who was outside that day, and he said that they were starting to shoot bullets outside in the rubber bullets. Okay. So that's true. So in a way, they instigated people to attack.
Correct.
And at the same time, they invited them in the Capitol.
Yes.
So, you see, now I wrote a book during your time in jail. I published various books. I published this book in particular, in which I gave my own description of the events, and I described the whole thing. And I tell you, as a psyop, because I personally told a lot of people who were in the Proud Boys not to go that day, and actually said it publicly on InfoWars a week before, that they should avoid falling into this trap. And the people who actually followed my advice are still thanking me to this day. In this book, which is, by the way, a book also that was praised, my work by Chancellery, the so-called QAnon shaman, I told the FBI was in course with Nancy Pelosi and those people from the deep state to create this whole thing. So this was also your impression all along.
Correct. But see, the more so you have to understand, Nancy Pelosi at that time wanted us to stop everything. Does anybody know what happened those 7 hours while the Senate went downstairs for the count? Does anybody know? No, there's no record of it. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes that we were not part of. And that's the way their system of putting a whammy on the presidential election. I mean, it was a steal. I mean, look at what happened now. Donald Trump beat not one person, but two people, Biden and Harris. That's a handicap match. I mean, you can't make this up. You know he lost. Biden lost that election.
Of course, we know that, and we know also that for the last 4 years when Biden was in power, in reality, it wasn't Biden, because every executive order was probably signed electronically in a way that is just it puzzles. It makes you think that I mean, we were really in the hands of Alexander and George Soros and Barack Obama, who were the real people who were, controlling the White House. But aside from that, I wanted to analyze with you instead the January 6ers inside the Gulag. I sent once with my wife, I remember, a Christmas postcard. I felt really sorry for them. They seemed to keep in good shape by praying, by being, very patriotic about it. What is your experience inside there? Tell me a little bit about it, because a lot of people would like to know.
We suffered at first. The first groups that went through there were tortured, traumatized, beaten, thrown in a hole. It was nasty. The group I came in with was not as bad, but it was bad because the food was terrible, non-nutritious. It was no ice, no water for us there. Then they give us water and we have to drink out of our faucet. But then we got moved to C2A, and at C2A we were good, and because we were in another unit of the prison, or jail. Well, it's still DLC prison. And then we got moved to C2B, then C3A. We were moved around a lot. But we kept our own spirits up. We kept our own brotherhood together. That's what J6ers do. We're family. Like I said, I love my brother.
In the end, regardless of the color, you became a big family.
It was togetherness for us. But on the other side, the system itself was against us within the jail. That we were beaten and pushed into cells and locked down. That was the issues. I mean, there are a lot of issues. Like the officers were sometimes doing 2-3 shifts and they'd be throwing their attitude towards us. I mean, it was hard, and the food was not nutritious, and medical attention, that's a joke.
Now you will describe it more as psychological or physical torture, what went on in this gulag?
I would describe it as psychological.
Psychological. There was, though you said initially in the first group of people that arrived there, maybe before you, also some physical beating?
Yes. I mean, that was by the kids that were in jail. Okay. That were DC residents,
Okay, now what I'm going to show to our viewers is going to, of course, piss them off probably even more. Once you got out, things were not easier for you because you were still left there and you were a political prisoner who couldn't even go to a homeless shelter, and you ended up sleeping under a bridge. And you were banned from a homeless shelter simply because of the fact you were a J6.
Yes. Greensboro, North Carolina is a terrible place in some ways and good place in some. The law enforcement, they were pro J6ers. The church people, those quote unquote Christians, those are the ones that we had problems with more. Well, I did. They had their own initiatives, their own way of wanting things. They wanted us to bow to them. They wanted us to.
Which church are you talking about here? Can you be a little bit more specific?
Churches there, because listen, the truth is, a lot of people get their education about politics through church and television.
No, well, but we saw what that church leader did to Trump soon after his installment in the White House when he reprimanded him from the pulpit. I mean, that was like just showing what kind of view they have of Trump or of the MAGA movement. I mean, the Catholic Church and Pope Francis hates the MAGA movement as well as all the other churches combined together. So I'm not surprised from what happened to you. But what you feel about the justice system back in Biden's days, and would this whole thing, you think this whole thing will have carried on if Kamala would have been elected?
No, we were still been in jail or in prison. We would have been facing same discrimination, same abuse, same. Look, I got out of prison to jail, and issues that we have as J6ERs. Our credit history is crap. I mean, people don't think about this. Our credit's crap. Looking for a job. What have you done past 4 years? How about this? Financially, they've already ripped most of our bank accounts away from us. They've stripped us veterans of our disability pension. Do you think we could survive that in reality?
Will things change now that Trump is at the White House in regards to rehabilitating as your vet status?
It's changed a little bit, not to the degree that it needs to. We need relief from the U.S. government. This is what we should have had upon the release with the presidential pardon. We need financial relief because a lot of us lost our houses, our cars, our belongings. I lost my identification. You know how hard it is to get identification? I mean, you gotta prove who you are just to get a birth certificate. And
yes,
how do you do
that? But excuse me, if they arrested you, they should have an identification. Otherwise, they were not placed in jail. How is it possible? It's a really outrageous, this whole thing. I mean, you have had difficulty in reobtaining your ID.
Yes, because you can't use a jailhouse ID to get your birth certificate.
Okay.
And don't forget, as a veteran, you need ID to go and get your VA card.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a lot of little issues. Well, that's what they told me, you know. But there's a lot of little issues that are there. Like, for example, medical. We lost all of that as a veteran. J6 vets. That's what's hurting.
And you don't think that at the present moment time you can reacquire any benefits, maybe by writing a letter simply to the White House? I mean, if you want, I can help you send it to them.
Please do. I would love to have the assistance. I mean, I got Suzanne Monk. She assists. I got Josh Macia. He assists. We got YG, and he assists. The guys that are vets are assisting, but the problem is, it's not reaching the total platform where it needs to touch.
Okay, let's rewind a second. Here you were basically saying they destroyed your life. They destroyed your life over misdemeanor charges. And this, I'm quoting you and what you said, because I'm black and I'm America first. So during the Biden presidency, you had no chance whatsoever. What happened when at one point you were rearrested?
On the last rearrest, I was going. It was the day before. It was the day before the election for president, and I was supposed to go on. I was supposed to go on Good Morning Raleigh that morning, And it was announced that I was going to be speaking on Good Morning Raleigh. Well, guess what happened? They came and got me.
Why?
They said I violated, which the judge threw it out.
They said feds arrest J6ER who said the entire sentence. Here, this is an article, of course, from my colleagues at the Gateway Pundit. Great photo of you, by the way, here, Darrell.
I love my Gateway Pundit.
Absolutely. And it says military veteran and MAGA African American radio broadcaster Darrell Neely was rearrested on November 4th. I mean, the day before the elections. And it says reportedly the Merrick Garland, the DOJ has told January 6 prosecutors to continue with business as usual and prosecute Trump supporters with no change. Wow.
That's true. Because they just want to destroy us. They want to kill us. They don't want us to survive. They just want a socialist communist society.
But let's remember, this was November 4th. Then, right. Of course, the elections happened, and now we have Pam Bondi at the DOJ, we have Kash Patel at the FBI. They are still, of course, working their way into a system built up of lies and deceit. Even they have found a bunch of redacted documents in regards to cases like, for example, the Epstein files and other things. We have, though, people like Dan Bongino, who is also deputy director. I think that you have a chance, and you should have a chance to get back into society and also reacquire your your veteran status, which I think is outrageous you have lost in any way. I mean, the DOJ and the Garland is one thing, but now you have Pam Bondi. Things have changed. I know that, you know, when you spend all this time in prison, you kind of like, it's difficult to get your mind back into the here and now. You at times you're left. You know, I was lucky enough in my life to not spend a lot of time in prison, even when I was accused of espionage and other things. But you tend to go back to the time you are there and not live the present. Now in the present, you don't think that Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or Dan Bongino, who is also a colleague as being a broadcaster and somebody who has done always a great work, can really give you a hand here, because I think that a lot of viewers will see this show and in disbelief say, I mean, you had a radio. You told me before we started the radio show today, before we started the show today, that you wanted to restart your career with your radio next week. Tell us more about that, and tell us also how they probably took all your equipment away and stuff. How did that work out?
Well, that came about by another ex. All my equipment was at her apartment in Greensboro, including my comic books and paintings and computers. And you know what she said? I abandoned them. And she made a firm agreement with me that once I get my place, once I get, you know, everything straight, I can just get everything and take it with me. But because I don't bow to nobody, and I don't have a strong will, and I can't be tamed by nobody, the situation became different. The situation is more, she had hate. She had disgruntlements. She started listening to those bloody psychics.
So, okay, you have this problem, and of course, regarding the second arrest, you were released a little over a month from the 14th of December. At that point, please reopen the mic, Darrell.
Yes, I was just saying that, you know, because my cousin came in, boy, I got a lot of family rolling through the day. Everything that I had wanted at that time was available to me. But now with Pam Bundy, Bongino, my man, Bongino, I mean, you got to understand, everything is going to be beautiful. They say it is. But in the end,
I mean, I
what
think
happens the next
we
time?
need to make Darrell great again, and so we need to
But
work.
Darrell needs to be great with everything that's going on, but it's hard because I need my identification. I need my social security. I need a firm place to stay. I need to get my business back started. Come on, I was making good money and I was living a good life at that time. And we were doing wonderful. You know, you were there at Global Light Radio Network. We were doing the thing. I was on Sirius XM, iHeartRadio, had even threw us on an FM station. So we were making good money and we were growing. The bottom line is that we need help. I need help.
Okay, where can people find you? Sorry, put the mic back on, Darrell.
Yeah.
Yes. Where can people find you? Because I'm sure there will be a lot of people watching this. This is going to be broadcast also in a few hours on Band.video on Infowars Media. And so we will have a lot of people watching this interview. And I hope that it reaches a lot of people all over the country that can maybe somehow help you.
Well, you can find me Twitter, Facebook, the usual places. And also you can just find me doing my radio station, the radio interviews. I'll be coming back soon. Give me 2 weeks and it'd be great. Everything's gonna be
you are working on that. You are not giving
I'm
up.
working on it. I'm building my own website. I've had a loophole again, other things, but that's going to be changing soon too. Everything's going to be working the right way.
I'm glad that you have this positive attitude. Let's go back a second to the last article, which showed you having some serious trouble. Though on December 14th, it says Darrell is being released again from the DC Gulag. We do not want to report on this area because the DOJ kept the allegation of appropriation violation under seal. I want to go further in this article because it says the only clues we had that Darrell has been unable to pay restitution of $939.93, like many others, such as John Mellis, even those with impeccable pre-January work credential. Did you manage to pay that? Volume, Darrell. Volume. Please open the mic.
It was supposed to be $100 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't have a job. I was homeless. I didn't have anything. So what can I give?
Did you manage a little bit with the Gibbs and Go to get that sorted?
Yes, I did.
Oh, God bless you. God bless you. I'm glad.
But here's the situation of that. With the pardon, all that went away. But we can talk about that one also later.
Okay. So the DOJ, it says here, stole all the belongings he had on him, now a second time. I mean, you are, of course, now relying on your family. At the same time, you told me that the January 6ers have become like a family to you. Do you still have like close contact with them?
Oh, I have a beautiful close contact. We call each other. We talk. We call each other late at night, in fact, just to, to what's the word? To let off steam. Talk about issues that we have. But I mean, I just want people to understand that everything that we've been through and everything that we're going to go through, which, boy, we got a lot of talking to go through, brother. It gets deeper, a lot deeper. I mean, this is just a touch of the iceberg about what we are going through and what we have gone through. But on the other side, there's some PTSD, there's stressors, there's a lot of anxieties. And in order for that to be rebuilt, guess what we have to do? They're going to have to give us medical.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think that is a requirement that you should all have accepted, because, I mean, they should accept your this request because it's important. I mean, psychologically, I can only imagine what you're going through, because 28 months in prison, then plus another month after that, you have been in a total in prison for how long? 29 months?
No longer. They didn't give
Longer?
me any back time. No back time from all the jail time.
So how long you been in prison for?
It was 3 years and 10 months total.
Aside from the time you were, you know, as a homeless, you in total you spent over 3 years in prison.
Yes.
Wow, that's shocking, man. That's really something else. Today, it's a special day, as you know. I told you, because it's 1 year since I became an American citizen. Unfortunately, you were not around when I tried to connect with you more than once, but it was really difficult. And you told me now why they made it almost impossible for you to connect with all your old friends. But it was a great day that for me meant a lot. I acquired the American citizenship. It was the 12th of March 2024. And I then formally renounced to my European citizenship, and I'm very glad to be a proud citizen of this great country. This great country, though, was almost lost with all this injustice. I mean, it feels like they stamped all over the Constitution with what they did to you and the other J6ERs.
The Constitution seemed like it just didn't exist. I mean, people from other countries come here and they get more than we do. Think about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was, I remember, still in the Biden era, which was a nightmare for the whole country. I think that nobody wants to ever repeat. So let's go back a second to your first impression of the new Trump era. Now that Trump has had these 4 years to see how things can go really wrong, and everybody had the possibility of seeing that, we re-elected Donald J. Trump. And of course, now he's trying to make America great again, but it's not easy. I mean, we have still the Biden economy, the Biden inflation. We have, of course, now all these tariffs and all the controversy surrounding what Trump is trying to do. What is your view of Trump now after all these years? And I mean, you have been a political prisoner who fought for the MAGA movement, so you can have a say. And I'm not going to censor you in any way, shape, or form. You're free to say whatever you want.
This is the best damn thing I've ever seen in my life. You know why? Because we get to speak out. We get to be free as January 6ers and J6 vets. And I want to make sure everybody understands that we have fought hard. We've bled. We've cried. We've shared pains that nobody else has ever attempted to share. As American citizens today under the Trump regime, I say make the federal government smaller and stop giving these people excuses for stealing our money and our tax money and raising our prices like the prices of eggs. Come on, don't blame it on Trump, blame it on Biden. Pork, blame it on Trump, blame it on Biden. I mean, everything is going perfect now. Democrats need to step back and stop messing with us.
Now I'm going to bring you back to that day for a second with these images, and I want you to comment these images. You are, of course, a testimony of that historic day. We are about, of course, to end this broadcast, but I wanted you to tell us more about that day. And please, let's open your mic.
Oh my God, this is terrible. This is the day of them. This is January 6th.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, this is what happened that day that we were just being bombarded by angry police officers, angry people that didn't want us to be human. They didn't want us to be able to have a freedom of speech or the right to speak. This is the day that we did not, we stood proud. And I see nothing but pride in all of this. I mean, pride is everywhere. We're Americans. We're supposed
Do
to be
you
proud.
do you
We had
ever
a
regret?
freedom of speech. We had a freedom of speech. We had the freedom to protest. We had a freedom to stand against tyranny. We have that freedom to stop it. We called a spade a spade. We said it was a fake election and we had a fake president, and we proved it. This day was a day that I say I met my brothers and my sisters.
So you never regret going
I will
there
never
on
regret
January 6, 2021?
it. I will never regret it. Never.
Well, this is a
That was
powerful testimony that you're giving us, Darrell.
that's
And
a day that I say I met my true brothers and true sisters who stood against tyranny, who stood against injustice. And that was the day that injustice and tyranny walked all over us as Americans. Bro, this is emotional. This
well,
is really,
I can imagine. I can absolutely
I mean,
imagine.
sometimes you want to just sit back and cry about these things because it's real. It's real. Um, that day was beautiful, but the outcome was deadly. The outcome was deadly. We lost. We lost Ashley Babbitt. We lost three others in the crowd, and they lost nobody, but they said they did. They said that they lost officers due to January 6th. No, sorry, on January 6th. No, they did not die on January 6th. Not one officer died that day.
So there was a
Okay.
lot of artificial construct around the fact that you were, the insurrectionist, you were the enemies of the state, and that you should be you should be described as a new 9/11 almost. So almost as terrorists, this narrative went on for a couple of years incessantly. How did you feel when you heard these things constantly from the media that were relating an event like this one to the terrible events of 9/11?
I've never witnessed anything like this since the Tea Party. You remember Tea Partiers were ones rioting in New York City and all the cities in the country, and they didn't get treated like this. I mean, Black Lives Matter did not get treated like us, and they burned down buildings. They killed people.
What is a message that you would like to give to the Trump administration and to Donald J. Trump now?
Keep doing what you're doing. Drain the swamp. I'm about to say something else. Drain the swamp. Get rid of the problems. For everybody else, please support and help me. I mean, I need to get back on radio. Listen, I have to pay a $600 deductible just to get on Verizon because my credit history has fallen into nothingness. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because of credit history.
Absolutely. You need to absolutely rebuild your life, and I'm glad that I was able to have you on my show today. We have on the screen, of course, your Give, Send, Go, and I pray for you, and I hope that the next time I have you here is also because you're back with your Global Enlightenment Network.
Bro,
so I hope you stay strong.
If you only understood how much pain it is just to to see that scene and see how people got hurt. I remember in my back of my mind a child in her father's arm getting sprayed with that tear gas spray, and also him getting beat. These are scenes that people do not see. These are
There's
scenes
a lot
that
we don't understand still of that day, and we haven't seen, of course. But what about the future now for the January 6ers?
The future is, it's there. There is a future. We don't know which way it's going to go, though. We don't know how it's going to go, but we know it's there. And with Trump leading the way, and with Doge taking its hand and shrinking and destroying the establishment the way it is, because the establishment needs to be destroyed. It needs to be rebuilt. It needs to be handled with a chainsaw, not a surgical knife. It can be beautiful, but it can be beautiful for all Americans, all people, all races and colors in America. And it can be beautiful for those that come here with the dream of being an American. Look at you.
Thank you so much, Darrell. I'm truly honored that you said this today. And I'm really glad to find you positive in front of a future which is uncertain for everybody. But you seem to have always a positive outcome, and I'm sure that we will be talking again about making America a great country with Donald J. Trump, and also with J.D. Vance, who has demonstrated to be also a very special vice president in his time in office. You have mentioned Doge. There is a lot of controversy surrounding Doge at the moment, especially because the leftists can't digest, that Doge is kind of investigating all their money waste, even abroad and everywhere. The change, though, it's in the air. And at the time of change, we have also time of uncertainty because the system wants to fight us. The system wants to fight us. Now, I wanted to show you something. You know that, of course, the subjects of the day include also Ukraine. Ukraine has been since 2022 a big show that has made the military-industrial complex extremely rich after the pandemic made the big pharma extremely rich. So these two elements of the new world order of the establishment have made a lot of money, while the rest of the world seems to be poorer and poorer. Now Europe is like on the verge of war, but Trump, of course, is trying to bring peace. And only a few hours ago, Volodymyr Zelensky, who is really an actor working for this establishment, has said he's available for this truce, for bringing this peace around, after having a big clash, of course, with Trump at the White House. So let's check him out.
Доброго дня, вітаю. А я думав, що ми будемо всі. Американська сторона хотіла, щоб українська сторона продемонструвала готовність до швидких кроків до закінчення війни. Після цього, якщо українська сторона продемонструє, американська сторона давала нам слово, що вона відновить допомогу, так, і американська сторона це зробила. Ми продемонстрували, вони це зробили. Чи готові ми до припинення вогню або до тиші? Ми конкретно це зробили і сказали так. А питання, чи буде готова на це руська сторона?
Now, On
paid actor.
Friday, this actor, of course, is being put a little bit on the side. The big players here are, of course, America and Russia. And on Friday, there will be a phone call between Trump and Putin to hopefully sort things out. What is your take, Darrell, on the end of this war, the possible end of this war?
I'm gonna be honest with you, okay? When I say honest, I'm gonna be 100% pure-blooded honest with you. Zelensky needs to be removed. First of all, he disrespected the White House. He disrespected the President of the United States. He disrespected the Vice President of the United States. Number two, he has not had an election in his country. So basically, you can guess what he is now, dictator. Number three, Ukraine has been the seat of, what's the word I want to use? Child trafficking, drugs, anything you can throw at it.
And weapons that end up in the hands of the cartels, that end up
Chemical
in the hands of the mass everywhere.
Don't forget the chemical weapons, and also,
Yeah, also
I
that.
mean, you can't argue with these facts, and you can't argue with how dirty Ukraine has been. Yeah, the people, it's not the people, it is truly the leadership.
The
And
leadership,
also,
and here we go back, Darrell. Here we, sorry to interrupt, but we go back to the same people who made your life a living hell. Joe Biden and in his administration,
feeding them money, feed them money, feed them our weapons, feed them our United States of America weapons. And guess what they can't do? They still can't hold off Russia. You know something? Putin was right. I'm gonna say it. Look, I'm not for Ukraine. I can't argue with it because Ukraine's been the seat of Biden family love for too many years. So they're dirty. We know they're dirty. We know that they've always been dirty. I mean, it's a fact. It's been that way for years.
So this great injustice that all you J6ers had, then of course gave the way to then other terrible things that happened during the Biden administration. Let's not forget the disaster in Afghanistan, which probably inspired.
Oh my God! Why would you let the State Department evac military? Come on, hold on. Let's try this again. The military is evacuating, and they're taking citizens with them. Why are you letting the State Department dictate that? That was stupid. That was ignorant. That was beyond. Look, I'm sorry. If there was any rational thinking in the world of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, it would be probably reading the book Three Little Pigs. That's all they have left.
Yeah. In regards to the African-American world, we saw a big change with the election of Donald J. Trump. It seems like more and more people in the African-American world are actually embracing the Republican Party. What's your take on that, Darrell? Because you have been a pioneer of that. No, I mean.
Oh yeah. Well, let me be honest with you. They should have been embracing the Republican Party from the beginning. I mean, freedom of slaves. Who was it? Republican. Who gave us equal rights amendment? Who gave us? I mean, it goes on and on. The problem that we have is not the embracement of the Republican Party. It is how many lies can those Democrats tell? Think about that one. They've lied and they've misconstrued stories and told blatant lies on top of it. Like, here's Nancy Pelosi. Well, I didn't get a phone call from Trump about bringing the National Guard.
Well, I mean, we saw the face of Nancy Pelosi during Trump's speech. She was almost having a heart attack or something. She was twitching. Like her face was like
And
kind of.
Maxine Waters, Maxine, you can't beat James Brown lookalike contest winner. Yes, right. I said it. James Brown lookalike contest winner. Maxine Waters. She's just lost. I'm sitting here listening to her, and they're going to the Department of Education, and they say we can always go in there, but not now. Trump has plans. Why are you trying to interrupt the plans of the president? He has the right, as the head of the federal government, to be able to maneuver these things. I mean,
Now-
Congress is money. Congress is money, okay, and making bills, okay. But guess what? You don't fight presidential orders, and there's no bias in his presidential orders, and there are no lies in them. It's point blank. Look, you're illegal. Get the hell out of here. Hey, guess what? You're stealing not only taxpayer money, but you're also what? Getting medical, food stamps, and a house, and a car, and perfect credit, and da da da. You can't make this stuff up. You can't. You
Now-
never could.
That was brilliantly exposed and said by you and Darrell. Let's not forget for the viewers who are seeing you for the first time that you have been speaking about these things for a very long time. As you know, soon after, there is a question I wanted to ask you regarding the guy who was the January 6th defendant who was fatally shot after being pardoned. What do you know about that?
We know nothing about it. He has his gun in the car. In the car.
Okay.
And because he reached for his identification, he gets shot. Something needs to be done about this. I mean, what are they trying to exterminate us now? I mean, be honest. I mean, you can't put us back in prison, go with pardon, and we need to have the rest of those January 6ers released. Because number one, those charges occurred in and with the intent of January 6th by the FBI and the U.S. Marshal Service.
So Darrell, Matthew Hattel, which was involved in a traffic stop and was killed, you think it should be a topic of investigation?
I say there should be an investigation not only in the Justice Department, but let's take it to the Veterans Administration.
And in regards,
see, I'm at the point now, Leo, where I mean, I'm free. I'm outside the house. I'm walking, and I'm able to talk to you the way I want to talk. Listen, the Veterans Administration needs to be looked after. It needs to be dug into. We need a chainsaw in the Veterans Administration. In fact, we might need two. There's a lot of money that goes into VA. And what do we get? Veterans dying on the floor in the hospital. What do we get? We get veterans not getting the complete treatment. What do we get? Well, you need to fill out these applications. Well, we don't need to fill out. No, we're veterans.
now
We need a doctor, and we need to get.
How many people amongst the January 6ers who are veterans, but have been neglected now? Any form of assistance you think you have at the moment?
Well, at the moment, I'm getting assistance by the vets, J6 vets here in Florida, and they're trying to get me a place to stay that's comfortable. They're trying to make me have a good life, rebuild me, as I would say. And I thank Josh Macia and I thank my man YG and Ramon for all the support and time that we have. Now, I can tell you, my boy Ramon, he's a dynamic artist. I mean, wow. Abstract art, geometric, beautiful. YG, he's a classic politician. Genius. That man has, he's opened my eyes to so much that I've never seen. And then on the other side, we have, of course, Josh Messiah and his partner Solomon that work here at the Modern Towers here in Homestead, Florida.
Well,
Josh,
I wish you all the best, Darrell, because you really deserve really the best, and I hope that people will be able to help you out. Today we also showed your gifts and go, so I hope they will be able to tip you or give you at least a little bit of assistance. What would be your last message in today's show? And will you write a letter to the Trump administration on behalf of those J6ers who have still trouble in getting back into the day-to-day life?
my statement to the American public about just stand behind Donald Trump. Listen, he makes a promise, he completes the promise. He hasn't failed us yet. I mean, geez, that almost sounds like a Christian thing. But no, he does what he says he's going to do. And how can you beat that in a president? The one that can stand there and speak without having to look at clip notes and have somebody in his ear telling him what to say. How do you beat a man that knows business and has the baddest man in the world with him, Elon Musk? And I gotta say hi to May Musk. Hey May, May Musk, that's mom's. I love her to death. How do you beat a team like that with Mr. Kennedy? Yes. How do
Well,
you beat
it's definitely a very dynamic team, and we hope that after people saw today's interview, they understand that J6ers have been really through a lot. At times, I see the images of the cells you were staying. Some of the people, at least, were staying at the Gulag in Washington, and it was like unbelievable. I mean, it was like something out of this world, so small and sad.
Cells
Really
are small. Listen, we were packed in like sardines. We were treated like crap. And we had to stand up for ourselves in order to get some respect. After a while, we had some people that gave us, some officers that gave us respect. Lieutenant, can't remember his name either. But I mean, it's a good thing. It was a real good thing that we came together and they allowed us into a January 6th unit. But on the other side, Leo, this last time I went there, I couldn't be in a J6 unit. They wouldn't allow us to be. They disbanded the January 6th unit.
Why? What happened? They understood it was just too bad, and they kind of built up something else.
No, the thing is, J6 unit was so peaceful and so serene that officers didn't have to do really anything.
Ah, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, but it was the way it is. That's the way it was.
That's
but
very.
The bottom line, but here it is. The other side of it is we were also not allowed to do much. Like we would miss recreation day. We would miss medical. They would stop us from going to medical, or they would tell us, well, you know, if you don't go to if you say you don't want to go to medical, you'll lose privileges. Everything's about privilege, if you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Privilege is how they how to say browbeat. And for the public out there, here's a good way of looking at it and understand. Jail life is not a good life. But what they do is they keep you there so long that you become accustomed to it. And it takes a lot of time to decompress.
Absolutely. And that's why
that kind of situation.
That's why you need medical help also at a psychological level. I feel that would be an important step for you.
But we're being ignored. We're being ignored. We listen. They want to. The VA wants to pump pills in you. Okay. They don't want to get you to sit down and talk about the issue that is at hand.
They just
All medical doctors that I've been around want to give me pills. And you know, from COVID, and you know this, Leo,
yeah,
the doctors get a cut.
yeah.
They get a kickback. So,
No. I mean, I published a book that I hope I will be able to give you sooner or later. Volume 11 about the past, present, and future of mind control, in which I denounce the rise of the use of certain drugs like Prozac. Prozac, you remember, in the 90s became the big
yeah,
thing, and maybe many other drugs that in the end have made more damage than helped out people, because they are part of the plan. They are part of the plan, so people become dependent on the big pharma. We saw it ourselves also when they started to promote the idea that the vaccines were the ultimate solutions and solution for this pandemic. And then in certain countries like Italy, for example, but also here in America, those people who were vaccinated at times, they were forced into the vaccination. They had a lot of problems physically. Were you forced into take some kind of
oh yeah, I knew that was coming.
medicine?
I knew that was coming, Leo. Let me tell you something. They tried their best to get us January 6ers to take medicine, to wear masks, to do the 6 feet apart thing, and
Yeah,
they tried. They tried. Like the military guys, most of them refused and refused and refused. You know something? You got to think about this. Either you take this vaccine or you lose your job. You remember when that came out?
yeah.
That now, here's what they said to us in the gulag. Either you wear a mask or get vaccinated. Ready? Or you lose privileges. I told you that's how they browbeat you.
Hmm.
I mean,
So,
that's how they
and
set it up.
how did the majority of the Sixers react?
We don't do that. We don't do that.
So
And
you
you got
stand
to also,
you
we,
stand compact against this.
we stand strong. We stood as a group. See, the thing that they did that made our life better, they put us all in a unit together. You got to think about that. In a unit together. Therefore, it made us safe, and it also gave us the ability to become a unit, a team, a family. And as a person that's a January 6er who has family and a veteran, I will tell you right now, in all honesty, I love my brothers and sisters. I love them to death. And I love how they stand on their constitutional rights. See, while we were in jail and in prison, we got to learn something that most Americans don't: the United States Constitution. You got to think about that. We had the ability to read the words as written and not interpret a way. I like the way to say reinterpret it this way. No, there's no interpretation. It should never be interpreted. It should be point blank as is. Freedom of speech, freedom to protest, freedom of the press, freedom and the right to bear arms. And the Democrats want all of that stripped from us. So then we have the right not to accept medical treatment. But guess what? They want to enforce their ideology, their will, their design upon us American citizens. So what do? We stand strong once more. And that's what J6ERs do. We talk about things. We have our own little group of patriots in Twitter. Everybody's in Twitter. And well, X, sorry, change the word X. And that's where we communicate. That's where we voice ourselves and allow our own humanity to show, and our stress and our hurt, our pain. We are humans, but we shouldn't be treated like a pet.
You think
Or
that in general, the subject of a reform of the prison system is something that the J6ers will support in the light of what you live?
beg for that. We beg for the reform. We want the gulag shut down because it has done nothing but evil, wrong, and injustice to American citizens. Listen, the Patriot Act was never meant to harm or to put in question a citizen of the United States of America, but it's been used as a weapon upon us January 6ers.
Let
Some
me
of us
ask
can't
you,
even fly. Some of us can't even fly. Can't
how
leave the
many
country.
how many J6ers do you think are still in jail?
Uh, Total. So they say
Mhm.
17. I think it's more like 13. We don't know every January 6er. I mean, I know a huge bunch because I was in the gulag. I was right there with the brothers. I was there with them when Jake Lang wants to pray and have people pray. We were standing there and doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and we 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 are patriots. We're not nobody's push toy. We are human. I keep saying human, but they treat us like we are degenerates, like we did
Now,
something wrong.
we are at the end of this show, at the end of an interview, more than a show, an interview which was like a very deep insight in what you lived. A lot of people, of course, will be viewing this. And already some in the chat were saying they were pretty thankful for understanding more about what went on, especially the life in prison that you described, especially the experiences that you described. I'm
Leo,
glad that you gave.
I gotta say one thing. Just
Yes.
think about this. About, I say 11-12% of the population of the United States know about us January 6ers and our struggle. About all those that percentage, I'll say 3% are supporting us and helping us. We need the whole American public to support and help us. Listen, Donald Trump pardoned us because we stood up for our constitutional right to say this election was a fraud and we're going to stop this coup. Because that's what it was, a coup. I mean, you can't make it up.
If people want to help, I put it here on the screen. There is, of course, your Give, Send, Go. I will, of course, speak to you also in the coming weeks. We will have to do a part 2 once you have also your Global Enlightenment Network back on the air, which is, I hope, something that you will manifest soon. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us today. The Leo Zagami Show really thanks you, and praise for you and all the other January 6ers who have lived this terrible trauma. Let's make, of course, America great again and give our support to Darrell and the people who have given so much to this country with their sacrifice, because they were political prisoners. This is the reality of it all, no? They were not simply people who were arrested for an insurrection act. No, they were political prisoners who were instrumentally used by the left for one of the most criminal-minded manipulation games in history that only an evil witch like Nancy Pelosi could ever bring together without a conscience, really, because they don't have a conscience now. But remember, Darrell, they have to live with their own conscience.
No,
And
they don't. You know what they do? They live with their money. That's all they want. It was a money grab.
That I think
Part
that
two, part two.
money doesn't clean your conscience. So I think that they are not going to be facing God in the same way we will be facing God. Trust me.
No, they will not.
God bless you, Darrell. And one last word to our viewers.
Hey, viewers, please support me. Support my needs. I mean, I need help. I'm not one to sit back and, well, before I would never say anything, but now I'm one to talk. I need help. I need support. I need you to stand up for me this time. I need to get back on air. I need to have as much support as possible. I need stable housing. I need to get my identifications. I need to get my medical. I mean, gulag messed my stomach up. I mean, I've been told to get checked for colon cancer. I don't know. I can't go to medical. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg, not the tip of the spear. I'm just a human. I'm an American. And guess what?
And guess what? A year ago, I joined you in this great American family. This is the image that day. I'm happy. See, here I am. And read what is written. This was 1 year ago. Yes.
Love when you're happy.
I'm very happy, and I'm very honored that I had you to celebrate with this 1 year anniversary of becoming America, which is still the greatest country in the world. God bless
USA,
USA, USA, and God bless you all. And we speak soon. Take care, guys. Please share this video, put like, and of course, support Darrell. And we see you on Saturday with Christy and the Leo Zagami show. We'll be back with their MAGA Counter Cognitive Warfare. It's going to be another great episode. Don't miss it. January 6th, veteran Darrell Neely. Thank you. Thank you so much. USA.
In that time, our world has taken so many steps in the wrong direction. Negative utopia, science, technology, social organization, dehumanization. In the negative utopia, science, technology, social organization. Technology, social organization, dehumanization. technology, social organization,